are here to introduce you to the first artist we're spotlighting as part of our Digital Spotlight series, Tim Ferrara! So why don't you tell us a little bit about your project?
Alright, well, Honey and the Whirlwind is a webcomic. It's about two different characters who both believed in magic when they were young, and who were kind of tricked by the world into thinking that magic wasn't real. They, through the events of this story, discovered that magic was real, so now they're kind of going on a journey of self-discovery to figure out all the things that they've missed.
So, what was it about doing it as a webcomic that was attractive?
Well, as a novelist, I tend to have the flaw of trying to go back and revise my work again and again and again. And the solution that I found was to do it as a comic, which would post, like, update online regularly, and it was almost to trick myself into forward progression because I couldn't go back once the public had seen it. Digital media allows you to skip the process of figuring out how you're going to do a lot of things and allows you to just do it. You really just have to get your stuff in a location on the internet where someone can find it.
What do you do to actively find an audience?
You can apply to be on Project Wonderful, which is a very convenient ad sharing community. They basically approve your work, and then they allow you to post your ads for your comic on other websites and allow you to host ads for other people's websites. The ads go to the highest bidder, so it's actually a decent way to make a small amount of money. Very small amount at first. At the end of the month, you get like $4, and then you can spend that $4 towards putting your ads on other people's websites. And then the more popular you become, the more people will bid on having their ads on your comic. They're more likely to be seen. So when we go to conventions, we kind of throw our cards to the wind.
I'll be the wind, you'll be the card.
The card that I have been displaying.
The whirlwind, if you will.
We'll sell merchandise that is associated with the comic. Other ways that you can get your message out there, Twitter.
Twitter, what's that?
Do we really have to explain what Twitter is?
No, you don't.
Okay. Facebook, you have a Facebook fan page. Sometimes I put up things on Reddit, but that doesn't usually get me much. If you are doing something that is like a popular fandom, Annie Stoll does my coloring.
This is her work.
The first thing we ever collaborated on was a Doctor Who Pokemon crossover comic. We put that one up on Twitter and Reddit and Tumblr. Nothing happened with it for like 2, maybe 3 weeks, and then one day we had over 20,000 hits. It just went viral. It takes some time sometimes. For the first year or so, I did nothing but write and illustrate it all myself. It's tough enough if you do that as a job, but if you have like a retail job on the side, it wears on you a little bit. I was starting to like miss updates, and so it really took a lot of the pressure off to have her be able to color for me. So it's always great to be able to know what your strengths are, know what your weaknesses are, and then play to those. And if you can find someone that complements that, you're going to create better art.
Something that we get asked as web content creators is like, how are you gonna make money off of this? If you're trying to be a working artist, then you need to figure out how to monetize your work. So what do you do as someone who's not sort of creating something from a recognizable universe? You know, it's not like you can be like, these are the X-Men. Do you want my drawing of Wolverine? I know nothing about the X-Men. I don't know why I went with that.
I was successful, more or less successful right off the bat because of trends. I was lucky enough when I first started doing conventions to notice that steampunk was a trend that was starting to come into its own. And I was one of the first people to make steampunk goggles out of welding goggles. People were selling them for upwards of $60 and $70, and I thought to myself, those are really easy to make. I could just make those and sell them for $30 and clean up. That supplemented my comic for a really long time. I was able to afford my first printing of my book based on making the money from selling goggles, which are incorporated in my story. Books are always a good way to make money if you are able to get cheap books. If you are doing a comic and you're doing it in black and white, that you make a lot more money because the books are almost infinitely cheaper. One of the things that I've been told has made lots of comic artists good profit is selling for the Nook or the Kindle or for the iPhone or the iPad apps to actually put your comic directly onto those kind of devices.
That's awesome.
And, you know, just for a minor charge, it's a great way to get your stuff out there for very, very cheap and still make a good amount of money.
So tell us where we can find all your stuff.
Alright, my website is www.honeyinthewhirlwind.com. My Twitter is honey, N, the letter N, whirlwind. Like the goggles and everything are found on my Etsy store.
I'm Anne.
And I'm Emily.
And this is art.